I don't think you can ever have a nightmare with Tyler Roberts in it because he doesn't threaten anyone.
Nice. Hello and welcome back to Just Another Football Podcast. Back again. This time it is only myself and Fergal, but we will have a special guest in the form of FJC to talk more about Leeds United later on in this episode. But for now, Fergal, how are you doing? Did you watch the Super Bowl?
I did.
By any chance?
I did. So yeah, I watched Super Bowl, stayed up till 3 o'clock in the UK, and enjoyed it. It was well worth staying up for.
Yeah.
I don't know an awful lot about American football. It's one of these ones. Anytime I do watch bits of it, watch the highlights, whatever, I'm like, I wish I could commit more time to this.
Interesting.
It really interests me, and I don't really have any understanding of the tactics of it. I know the basic rules, so I'm able to follow it. But yeah, I'd love to learn more about it. It's a fascinating game.
See, I was in the same kind of place that you are in terms of understanding the tactics of the game. But over the past year, I've started a sports business program, and the concentration is sports analytics. So we're learning a lot about other sports that I hadn't known of, and inevitably, the kind of tactical discussion comes up. And even like assignments that I have to know the tactics of the game for. So I've kind of had a lot more understanding since, and I've watched like pretty much in some way or another, like I'd have on one screen Thursday Night Football because it happened to be streamed on Twitch, which is really actually great. But yeah. The game yesterday
do they stream stuff on or put stuff out on Nickelodeon? Is there Nickelodeon NFL?
Oh, that was a one-off thing. That was in one of the divisional round, which is like the quarterfinal, right. I believe. They had one game on Nickelodeon. It was a fun concept, but when I watched the highlights, some of the Nickelodeon clips, it was kind of cringeworthy. But maybe it's because my age versus the target audience. But yeah, it was a great game. And I'm glad because the Super Bowl is often boring. It kind of disappoints most of the time. But yeah, that was good. Very controversial ending, but it's a solid ending in my opinion. There's like this bad call.
I thought the Rams deserved it. Yeah.
Yeah. All in all, they did. You can't have 7 sacks and win. You know.
Yeah. Mental.
Even though in the divisional they had 9 sacks and still won, which is bizarre.
They scraped through in the championship game.
Yeah, they
didn't they?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, fair play to them.
Fair play to them. Congrats to the Rams and to the Kroenke organization on this magnificent achievement. But for me, at least, for other actual football fans out there, the bigger game, I suppose, that happened is Chelsea winning the Club World Cup. Fergal. Chelsea are world champions. They've won it all, except for the Conference League by this point. So
we are massive. Yeah, we'll get round to that at some stage. I'm sure we'll have a drop off season somewhere down the line, and then
then you will have won it all.
Yeah, we'll hire a manager that nobody particularly likes, but he will win us the Europa Conference League.
And that confirms Chelsea's status as won it all, greatest club of all time. Yeah, what do you make of the game? Very interesting result, really, because 2-1 is tighter than you would expect.
It wasn't really. I was expecting a tight game. Like we got past Al Hilal just about. That was tight.
Yeah.
Palmeiras are a better team.
Yep.
So I was expecting a tight game just with how poorly Chelsea are playing at the moment, and then how motivated the Brazilian teams are to win that competition. So the combo of the two, I was expecting a tight game because they're going to play it like a big final, and they're going to try and keep it tight.
The reaction to the penalty from the crowd behind the goal was mad. Really?
Yeah. It was like the Palmeiras fans. They definitely outnumbered the Chelsea ones, even though that there would be a decent amount of support locally in Abu Dhabi, wasn't it?
Yeah.
For Chelsea, but But it was it was good to get the win. Thought both penalties were a wee bit suspect, a wee bit harsh, perhaps. But if you give the first one, you definitely have to give the second one.
Yeah.
I think both have grounds to not being given. Even though the both arms are in an awkward position, it's just like one's really the Palmeiras one's really close, and it's like a rocket of a shot. It's probably going in if or at the very least a really powerful shot on target. And then the Palmeiras penalty, it's like it's hit. That one's like there's not much less contact, less importance of contact. His arm is in a more strange position.
Yeah,
and
he had it really out, didn't he? Close quarters, but he had it out. Like, you don't need to do that.
So yeah, it was. But I to be honest, I was saying to Ali before, I watched the rugby instead. I had this on a second screen, so I was like, but in saying that, I said it before on the last one. I really did want to win it. I would have been annoyed if we hadn't won it. But still, isn't a massive trophy for me. It was more like, oh, that's good, a nice wee smile. Good to see the celebrations. The celebrations were great to see.
Yeah.
From but like the behind the scenes stuff. Worried about Mason Mount's gone off injured. Still yet to hear what that was. An interesting call, which I didn't agree with, was the fact that Mendy started over Kepa.
Because Kepa started the semi-final.
Kepa started the semi-final. He's like the cup goalkeeper, like so. Although it's I think it's a regret of last season's FA Cup final, or we did get to a major final, and then the goal, people thought that Mendy might have saved it.
Yeah, there's this debate about Liverpool as well. Chelsea versus Liverpool final coming up. For in the League Cup final. 2 weeks time. I
know which goalkeeper I want to see in that.
Exactly. For both reasons. Being Irish and playing Liverpool. But there's this debate about Kelleher's started pretty much every game in the run, but Alisson is, our best goalkeeper, obviously. And with the current form Alisson's in great nick, you kind of wonder, do you really want to risk it? Or do you want to go with the one that started pretty much every game? I say pretty much because Alisson did start a game against Arsenal at Anfield. So, who knows? Who knows what will happen? I think it will be Kelleher that starts.
Klopp said it after the last game. I thought he said he would be, and I imagine he'd stick to that unless he gets injured or something.
Yeah.
Or something else happens. But yeah, I quite like it because I think it promotes a positive atmosphere within the whole club. It's like if you're doing well in these smaller competitions, as a squad player, you'll be rewarded if you do well. And I like that ideology. Maybe we did lose out. Maybe Mendy would have saved that one for Tielemans, and I think it goes back to that to then put it in there. But then Kepa might have saved the penalty, and then it could have still been 1-0 or whatever. And I thought if it went to penalties, I wanted him in nets, like Kepa in nets, because he's incredible at penalties. And for that reason, I hope he does start the Carabao Cup. But I'm trying to think who is. Is it still Carabao? What's it called now?
Carabao, yeah.
It is still Carabao.
It is still Carabao. You know what, Fergal?
I'm tempted to call it Carling Cup.
Carling? I wouldn't blame you if it was called Cup. It's a useless cup. So whatever. I would appreciate winning the Carabao Cup, but I did say before a while back, didn't I? What's the point of the League Cup? Like, what are you champion of? Because there's the FA Cup already. That's a knockout cup. The Carabao seems like a intruder almost on English trophies. But anyway, like, it's still a trophy. I do want to win it, obviously, and I would hope to see Kepa starting in goal for that reason. But let's get back on track for the Club World Cup, because Al Ahly achieved something that they've done for the third time, which is win the bronze medal. And that's a huge deal. But not just because they did win the bronze medal and they're only the second club to have 3 medals at the Club World Cup after Real Madrid, but also this is the last time we're likely to see a team outside of Europe and South America perhaps win a medal, because starting next year, or for whenever the next Club World Cup is, it will be the 2014 format in the summer. So obvious European monopoly on that expected. But yeah, bizarre game of football. 4-0 it ended for Al Ahly against Al Hilal, All Arab Derby, which is a big deal in and of itself.
Yeah.
2 red cards for Al Hilal. They seem to lack all kinds of discipline at all.
My question about Al Hilal was, what trophy did they win? Because I wasn't quite sure.
The
Is
Asian
it just
Champions
as
League.
they won the Asian Champions League? Was there another UAE team that was in it though?
There was another UAE team, but Al Hilal are Saudi Arabian.
Yeah.
And the UAE team are the hosts because they won
the hosts,
the
right.
league title. So that's
Right.
that's how
Okay.
it works.
I was wondering because I knew there was another Arab team in there, and I was wondering where they came into it.
Yep.
Also noticed there's a 5th place playoff as well.
There is a 5th place playoffs because, if you're eliminated first game, let's have another game. Let's have a proper order. It's always weird.
And also, it's a
because there's 7
big
teams.
deal. If you're not going to win the top one, you do want to know, well, where do we rank? Where does our conference rank? I get it. You do want to know, right? We are better than Oceania, whatever it is.
Yeah. I said before that I would like to have the previous world champion from the Club World Cup play, and if they are in there, they would take the second place to play again in the Club World Cup. But yeah, that was Al Ahly winning 3rd place, possibly for the last time, but magnificent achievement to do it 3 times, especially without 14 of their first team players. So yeah, here we are. The last real Club World Cup is over. And we'll move on to the recap of the previous game week of the Premier League after this. All right, Fergal, your team didn't feature this game week.
Oh, we're too being champions of the world.
They're too busy being champions of the world. But there's been a few interesting themes. I want to talk about United 1, Southampton 1, just because the goal that Southampton scored is, if it were scored against my team, I would want a lot of players in trouble.
Yeah.
Do you see it, the Jay Adams goal?
I did. I can't remember it now.
I'll remind you. I'll remind you of what happened. So it's played out the back. It starts with the goalkeeper, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bruno Fernandes goes off on one of his iconic, by now, manic presses that are also pointless because the goalkeeper never really intended to play to the back line. But anyway, he pings a pass out to the left back.
Yeah.
Marcus Rashford then is wildly out of position. He started on the right wing and he assisted the goal for Jadon Sancho. Fair play. But he was entirely out of position. So the left back has the freedom to play the ball central. Paul Pogba is in tracking back. Or is just jockeying back in place along with Marcus Rashford, who doesn't make an attempt to make tackles. And then it's essentially Harry Maguire steps in, leaves Che Adams free. It's slid into Che Adams' goal.
Yeah.
There are at least 3 mistakes, if not 4, that are very obvious, and it's down. It was a combination of poor positional discipline, poor work ethic, and poor tactical awareness. Why? Where do you think from a mental standpoint, I know you like those the kind of psychological theme of the game. What's happening? Like, why are we watching this team just entirely demotivated every game? The 3-1 draws in a row as well.
Yeah, I don't know quite what it is. I've heard lots of people with like different explanations about it, like as to, they haven't backed from the beginning, that things were going wrong from the very beginning. They're getting called nicknames, the coaching staff, and all the other stuff. I do wonder if it is like just a transition period. Don't necessarily get the whole thing about like he's only an interim manager, so why would you back him? Because he signed a 3-year deal and he'd be in charge of transfers afterwards.
And at the end of the day, he's the manager, and you're supposedly.
But he's the manager. I get if he was a normal interim, why there might be a lack of motivation there, because you're like, the next guy's gonna come along soon, so this guy doesn't mean anything. This guy's gonna be deciding that they're gonna have an input into transfers, I would have thought. Then again, with United, you just don't know what way the structure is gonna be, because their structure already is like, there's sort of 4 different people, or 3 or 4 different people in very similar roles with similar levels of influence, and title and stuff like that. So it's not quite clear what it is. Ed Woodward only finally left there. Did he finally leave? I'm not even sure if he has finally left. But,
they've announced that he's leaving twice. Once in the once
so
recently.
There's this sort of thing going on. So maybe Ragnick actually doesn't have much of an influence going forward. But from what I understand, he does. And that it'd be strange that the guy deciding the transfers and who should be part of the team going forward, why you wouldn't respect him. But I don't know. It might just be that they feel like the season's just out of their grasp. And Ronaldo has this thing, like, he didn't come to United to try and get 4th as their maximum goal. He wanted to win titles. So I wonder if he's been brought down to earth, and him being a big personality. I think like maybe they did. It's like their expectations were challenging. They're nowhere near that. And then as a result, it's just such a demotivating factor, which is really unprofessional if that is the case.
Yeah,
but it is carrying on so long that it does feel like that's what it is. Like they're just like, it does feel like an effort thing. Like the one thing Southampton have is their work ethic.
Easy for you to say.
I need to work on that. Yeah, but and they have some quality players like James Ward-Prowse, and Livramento and stuff like that. There is, and Salisu's impressed recently.
Yeah.
But like their big thing is like their press and how they work. So if United are getting beat by them, it's because they're getting outworked as a main thing.
Well, they drew, but they were outworked.
Sorry. They did draw, in fairness, but like
at home,
it's a disappointing result,
definitely,
for United, and things don't seem to be just clicking into gear. I still feel like Ralph Ragnick might have went to change too much too early, and I feel like he's now regressed on some of his changes as well, which maybe makes him lose credibility within the squad if you're sort of going back on what he initially planned to do.
I think what makes him lose a little bit of credibility as well is him going out in press conferences and saying our goal is top 4, and not being like, obviously they can't win the league now, they're 23 points off, but like saying we're like top 4 is good enough, and then you look around you and maybe the stance around the team is, oh, it's West Ham, Arsenal, and now Wolves and Tottenham. So
yeah, Wolves are genuinely they need contenders. To keep up. They need to keep up form that they haven't shown that they can before, over a longer period of time. But if they do that, they have a chance of finishing ahead a good and potentially getting top four. They are in the top four race, aren't they?
They are
just about.
I think
Currently
they are just
right?
because they have such a strong defense. Second
Second
least goals allowed in the whole league.
Yeah,
Which is incredible.
And it's this thing again with the top four where it's like nobody wants it. It happened when Chelsea under Lampard got it. It's like everybody's dropping points, stumbling over the line, and it's like it ends up just being like who can be relatively coherent for a top four team, who's going to make it, and it feels like it's going the same way. Which is why I still think Arsenal will do it, because I just feel like they're
do you think they're more motivated?
I thought West Ham were out of it. That's the only thing. West Ham, I thought were out of it, and now out of bad results, they are still in it. Yeah,
Arsenal,
I think it's between Arsenal.
Have 3 games in hand over West Ham, and they're 2 points behind.
If Arsenal go out and win those games in hand, there is daylight in between 4th and 5th.
Absolutely.
And that could be the decider then.
But to kind of finish my point on Man United, they're kind of looking around them and thinking, oh, we're better, or at least on par with these. We'll be fine. And if you're setting 4th as the benchmark for success this season, that's not a conducive environment for success. Like Antonio Conte, even though they did lose 2-0 to Wolves. Now we're talking about Wolves. He did say, "Oh, I'm used to fighting for other targets. I want to fight for the highest position possible. This isn't good enough," or some things along those lines, But yeah, you can't have a manager of Man United being like 4th is good enough when last year you were second, fake second. I know, but I mean, they were.
Yeah, second. I think he maybe could change. The other thing was the whole Jesse Lingard thing.
Yeah,
and
things that are not conducive to a good work environment in general. Like low standards. Obviously, there's the Greenwood stuff.
I appreciate that he's like, if someone has a problem, come talk to me.
Yeah.
The issue is that they all have brands now. So if it's made out that Lingard wanted time off, when in actual fact he didn't, that's been said in the press conference by a manager. Lingard needs to respond to that with it publicly. You can go in and have a conversation with the manager, and they can both know the truth between them, and that's good. But in terms of his brand and his image, which is more and more important, unless he has his own press conference, and he has to put it out on social media and explain the situation for his sake. So I think it's unrealistic to expect footballers nowadays, especially at Man United of all places, especially at a place which is like a brand is like they encourage players to have their own individual brands and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But brands in particular, not just personality. It's a brand and so Lingard's been had some bad PR.
Yeah.
In the way Ralph Ragnick sort of wants it, he's not allowed to publicly react to that PR. And the only thing I can imagine that would sort of fit Ralph Ragnick's ideas is in terms of this situation, is if that in a press conference Lingard was there beside him. And then it's like you're making a mountain out of a molehill then if you're having a whole press conference about something that could have been tweeted out in a statement.
Yeah.
Or like the other thing is that if in fairness, Ralph Ragnick could just go and go, I made comments about Lingard, just want to amend them and correct that, which would be fair enough as well. But I don't know, it's just like he didn't seem to be getting the whole picture, and been maybe a bit flippant about the reasons why Lingard wanted to. If something was incorrectly said that made him look bad, and it was said in the public discourse, it needs to be then reacted to that in the public discourse. Otherwise, it's just negative for Lingard. Yeah.
It's just I think his lack of experience managing is definitely hurting. But yeah, some of the comments he's made have definitely been a factor in that. Staying on top four.
Just quick, I do think Pochettino is going to get the United job. I think.
Oh, it's definitely He's out of PSG officially at the end of this season, regardless of the results. Like even if they win the Champions League.
Yeah,
I think that's been told to him.
So I think that's the way it's going to go.
Yeah, I do feel the same. Staying on the topic of top four, Leicester City 2, West Ham United 2, otherwise known as Desmond of the Week. And that's because Leicester City are incompetent at defending set pieces. They've conceded at least one set piece goal every 2 games. It's pretty much guaranteed that every game Leicester City will concede from a corner or a free kick or whatever.
They were unlucky with this one though. In fairness.
Why?
Well, it does strike his arm.
It does strike his arm, but from his sleeve, so it's within the rules. I was saying the same. I was saying it's a handball, and I'd be completely surprised if this was given. But it is wholly sleeve. And one thing I learned,
I wasn't sure if it was wholly sleeve. I thought it was like
it was. It was.
I saw an angle of it, and it didn't look like it was.
It was. I watched it once, so in the feed during the replay of the goal, it does seem like it hits the lower part of Dawson's upper arm, so like at the elbow region, and they didn't really celebrate the goal that much, despite it being like in the 91st minute. But after the replay, after the fact, so like in the analysis studio and things like that, things have calmed down, and they replayed it more slowly, and it definitely does strike all of the sleeve, nothing skin, like no skin at all. But back to their set piece defending, you can definitely see 8 players from Leicester City in their own penalty box defending that set piece. Only Dawson goes up for the corner. Like nobody was midair as he struck that ball with his arm or whatever. And all in all, they're pretty bad defensively. They're the worst at expected goals against for the season. They have about 24 expected goals against, which is like 5 goals worse than the next. And they're not creating the best either. They're about mid-table in terms of chance creation. Expected goals 4. So that is an awful Leicester City season. Complete write-off by a whole new set of center-backs, 4 at least. Sell Vestergaard, failed signing. And Soyuncu's time is pretty much up. Wesley Fofana's going to be back at some point. Buy at least 3 or 4 other center backs and see what happens. But this is bad. I would actually there would be a few Bundesliga and Liga center backs that would be really good cheap options that they should buy.
I still think Leicester will bounce back from this.
With a better like back line, they would. Because they're not the worst in the world going forward, but it's defending.
It's like whenever Liverpool lost, like had a crisis at centre. You end up with Ndidi playing out of position, and then it ends up having a knock-on effect if so many other players aren't playing in their favourite position. And then James Justin was just back, and then he got a knock as well.
Yeah, he got injured. He did. Difficult times for them back. Difficult times. All right, we'll move on to Burnley 0, Liverpool 1. I thought the main thing to say here is that I thought the discipline of the backline was very, very good from Van Dijk and Matip in terms of holding a good offside trap. They knew exactly what the game plan was. Put Weghorst on Van Dijk or on Matip specifically and just lump the ball forward into his general direction. And they did almost create a few chances off of that. And sometimes it would be long balls that are that Weghorst can have a run off the shoulder, but there were so many offsides, like so many. But yeah, that's the main point really. We did concede a few chances. Alisson was in top form. Even on the chances that were offsides, he kind of had to show his quality because they were that tight. Like they would have not counted if these goals went in. But Alisson. That we were saying at the start, weren't we, about how Kelleher is going to start the cup final. I'm not so sure. I say start your best keeper for the biggest game of the season so far. But yeah,
I'd find it strange that Klopp would go back on his word though.
Yeah, I don't think it will happen. Also, Fabinho scoring his 5th goal of 2020, which is just fascinating. Everton leads
2022.
His 5th goal of 2022, yeah. Fifth goal.
You
Did
just
I say
said 2020. You just said 2020.
2020. Did I say that? Wow. Okay. This is staying in. This is staying in. Moving on to lower ends of the table with Newcastle United winning their third game in a row. How boring is that?
In fairness, I don't think it is boring. The football on St James Park has been pretty exciting.
Yeah, sure.
Look, at this point, I think at this point in Newcastle's story, I feel like you might as well go along with the positive narrative.
Good for the community, good for the Newcastle fans. They're happy again. The atmosphere seemed great.
I still don't really mind if they did go down. I think it would be kind of funny, but I actually think they're looking good. And they're still not playing Guimaraes just yet.
Guimaraes was a 90-minute appearance in this game.
Yeah.
I mean, does he even have a place in the squad at this point? They've won 3 in a row without him. You know, what is he going to improve? They had Joe Willock, John Shelvey, and Joe Linton start the last 3 games. They've been good. They've been good. Kieran Trippier scoring a second consecutive free kick and then getting a broken ankle and will have surgery. That's a huge loss because Trippier has been kind of the playmaker for Newcastle for a bit. In the 3 or 4 games that he's played, one of their main chance creators, and now that's gone. So that will be a huge challenge.
Yeah.
Just in terms of leadership first just being the main man.
It could be massive for them losing that, and maybe that's where Guimaraes will step up instead of in terms of chance creation and progression of the ball. He might fill that void in a different way than Trippier was, but yeah, it's going to be interesting, the whole thing. But the buzz around St James Park it's hard not to admire and like that aspect of it.
Yeah.
And I can't get too high and mighty. I'm a Chelsea fan after all.
Yep. All right, we'll leave it there. Because now we will move on. We will meet our good friend and friend of the podcast for yet another appearance. FJC is going to join us after this for some Leeds United discussion because it is spicy up there. FJC has joined us. Hello, FJC. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing
Great to be back on.
Great to have you back. Now, how are you in the Leeds United context?
Well, after that game, I'm pretty annoyed, but it's to be expected when Bielsa decides to play a midfield pairing of Click and Rodrigo.
I found that strange, Rodrigo actually being really deep, but I find it also fascinating.
I'm surprised
at Bielsa.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's the first time I've heard Fergus be so slagging Bielsa off so much. This is intriguing. Are things starting to frustrate more and more? I know. I like Leeds. My dad's a Leeds supporter, so I always keep an eye out on Leeds. Watch a good few of the games, and a lot of things have annoyed me. But this is the first time I'm hearing it from Fergus.
Well, in that game, it was annoying just because the Villa game on the Wednesday, it was clear that Click and Rodrigo together just doesn't work because it leaves you so vulnerable on the break. But what is it, three and a bit years into his reign at Leeds, and it's one of the very few things that I've had to criticise him on, so
yeah,
he has done pretty well for himself.
And how much did it hurt that it was Frank Lampard's Everton that you got beat by? Is there still any animosity towards Lampard among Leeds fans?
There's always going to be animosity between Leeds fans and Lampard just because he's a Chelsea legend in one way anyway.
Yeah.
And then Spygate and everything to do with that has inflamed it a bit. But I wouldn't say I'm that annoyed that it's Lampard. I'm more just annoyed that we just took probably the worst performance of the season and we've lost 7-0 to City in this season. So.
Wow. That's quite the statement. Is that to do with the fact that you've started such an unusual or / unfavorable midfield pairing? Was that the main issue? Or was it the fact that Daniel James was kind of starting up top on his own, and Rafinha was subbed off in the process? And there were a few weird things happening in that game. Was there a deeper tactical issue than that, or is it just because Rodrigo was in the base of midfield and it didn't really work?
Well, it's more Click than Rodrigo, but Click's looking like he's reached a stage of his career where he just doesn't have the legs to do that role anymore. And when you don't have Phillips anyway, and you've got Forshaw on the bench, who's been arguably one of the best players of the season for us, it doesn't make sense to not bring him back in, especially after how intense the game against Villa was.
Yeah, that is true.
What is the deal with Rafinha? Has an explanation been given about why he was subbed off?
Well, he was poor against Villa anyway, and then he wasn't really doing that much against Everton. So Bielsa said he wanted to move James onto the right. So to do that, you've got to take off Rafinha or Harrison, and Harrison's probably deserved more game time than Rafinha recently anyway.
And this might be a bit personal, but in your nightmares, does whenever there's like the walls are closing in, or like that sort of dream, or whenever there's like a load of spiders crawling at me, whatever the nightmare you usually have, as Tyler Roberts started appearing in them, just walking through the door and because I'm getting that a bit, and Tyler Roberts just turns up and just contributes nothing.
I don't think you can ever have a nightmare with Tyler Roberts in it because he doesn't threaten anyone.
Nice.
I still don't understand this obsession with Tyler Roberts over Gelhardt, over Joffy.
I can understand starting him over him, but I can't understand when you need to get back into a game.
Yeah.
Because Joffy's so much better at just coming off a bench and getting the rest of the team up just from his attitude. But I think he's been an unfair scapegoat anyway, Roberts. But because
he's definitely not. A lot of the times he's not the worst player on the pitch, but as you say, he just doesn't. As a sub, you're just like he's not really going to make a difference.
Yeah, it's like if you're at a home game and he's coming on, you can feel it in the stadium that it's almost like the whole stadium groans. But he doesn't really deserve the criticism as much as some of the other players this season. But he shouldn't be getting the games that he's been getting either.
So what's it looking forward like for Leeds? Well, what are the hopes? You've got a tough run of games coming up against Man United next. You got the Yorkshire, the Rose Derby, if I got that name of that right. Then Liverpool, Leeds, Tottenham, Leicester. Now, in fairness, United, Tottenham, and Leicester all aren't playing that great, so perhaps you've got a better chance against them than what the names of them give you. The fact that they're bigger teams, but still a tough run coming up. What are you expecting? Are there many players back from injury that's going to help you in these next month or so?
Well, I think Firpo's meant to be back, but Dallas went off injured against Everton anyway, so he's sort of losing one left back for another one anyway. But
yeah,
and Phillips is I think due back in the start of March, and I think Cooper's due back as well. But Bamford's not got any sign of coming back at all, really.
Yeah. I think Bamford's had a poor season. He's had how many appearances in total? Maybe 2 that I can remember. What's going on there with Bamford? I genuinely don't know.
Picking up injuries.
Just injuries.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's.
Did he have 2? He came back briefly and then got another.
He had his return against Brentford, and then he pulled his hamstring in that, and then he picked up another injury after his hamstring recovered. So. Joan, I don't know how it happened, but I think it's something to do with his foot, but he can't even run at the moment, so...
Dropped his violin on it, did he?
Something like that, yeah.
That's pretty incredible. Now, I want to ask a broader question, because the transfer window passed and you didn't really sign anyone. How do you view this decision or indecision? Is it down, because I honestly don't know as well, is it down to financial restrictions, or was it just a Bielsa decision, higher management decision? What went on there, and what's kind of your take on the window in total?
Well, there was a big push to try and get Brendan Aronson in from Salzburg, but
That is true.
they've decided that they want to have him there to get spanked by Bayern on Wednesday or whenever it is.
Yeah.
But I think the message from the club is the money's there to be spent, but they don't want to spend it on players that are basically at a similar level to what we've already got. And I think they feel comfortable enough with what we've got at the moment that it's enough that it should get us by this season. And you can't in a January window. You can't really sign anyone without spending even more of a premium.
Yeah.
And
I think that's a brave call not to get the centre mid. I suppose the centre mid it's something that you've been wanting, from the summer.
Well, we haven't signed a centre mid since we signed Forshaw, which is about 3.5 years ago or something like that.
And he only got his first appearance there this season.
Yeah.
But you got Lewis Bate, in fairness. You signed him in the summer.
Yeah, he's not ready yet, but he'll be a good player when he decides that he's had enough of waiting for Bielsa to stop playing other players ahead of him.
Okay.
Is there any? I know that is it the San Francisco owners that are linked with Leeds?
Yeah, there's an agreement with them to, if they want to buy us, I think they can pay what we want, pay an agreed fee or something. But
Do you think there's any reason that you're perhaps going for an American player? Or am I? Have I got my tinfoil hat on there?
Well, I think they'll probably like that, but I don't think it's. I think it's just a coincidence because I can't see Bielsa saying, "Yeah, I'll sign this player because the owners want him."
And do you think Bielsa will stay on past this season?
Well, if it is true that we're in for Aronson, it makes sense that Bielsa would be wanting to stay on a season, but I don't know.
You never know.
You never know with him, and the way that this season's gone, he might think that.
If he goes down, do you think he'd leave? If he's went down, do you think he would leave?
It's a weird one. He might have a thing where he thinks he owes us getting us back up because he's taken us down, but at the same time, he might think that he's failed, so he shouldn't be allowed to have the job anyway. But I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's always a unique situation with Leeds since Bielsa came in. Really, you have him for the season, but what about next season? What's going to happen there? In my opinion, like first impression, and you'll know better than I do, obviously, is it kind of hinders future planning then, because if you're kind of keeping higher level management on their toes in terms of you're just not making a decision on your future for at least the next season, then how can you strategically plan for future transfers or just future strategy in general if you don't have a manager that's already there, or at least another managerial target that you can line up based on Bielsa's decision not to renew?
Well, I think every season they're always looking at targets for if in the scenario where he leaves, but even then they'll be looking at managers that are sort of similar style, because you can't have the same style as Bielsa anyway, but
exactly
similar in terms of high press, possession-based football. So
yeah,
either way, the players that you're looking at are going to be pretty similar anyway.
I would have thought that with a team like Leeds, especially just being newly promoted, you always have to be planning for if you went down. But I'm sure that they have a transfer strategy if that was the case, and know the players that are more likely to leave than others, and where that would, and also if Leeds did go down, it's like the Norwich style where they haven't spent, they can actually offer contracts to the important players that would bring them back up very quickly. That sort of thinking, but they might be able to keep a hold of Bamford, because they don't need to sell. and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and his stock's probably gone down this season by just being injured as well. So.
Yeah. And he was brilliant in the championship, but I'm still backing these to the I just can't believe that you after being so good that you would go down, but it is getting tighter. The Norwich is picking up form, Newcastle are picking up form. Is it where do you see the good performances coming from? Where do you see the results coming from between now and the end of the season, and what needs to change for those results to happen?
Well, I'd expect once Felix is back, the performances will pick up a lot just because of how good he is. But I think these next few games I'd take 3 points from the four of them really.
Mm-hmm.
But we've got a buffer anyway with ahead of Norwich, and it's just you can't lose against Norwich when we play them in 5 games time.
Yeah,
it'll throw it all away. But
if you do lose to Norwich, then at home, then if you go down, you deserve it. But no. So the lead is quite healthy right now. You're with a game in hand over Norwich, so you're 23. Norwich have played 24, but the difference is 6 points. So assuming you won one of them.
That game in hand's against Liverpool, so that's an easy 3 points.
Yeah, for Leeds, of course. Yeah, maybe it's in and around the Carabao Cup final. We might be too distracted by such a massive trophy that we play the kids against you or something. Then so that's an easy 3 points for Leeds. But
Klopp doesn't care about the League Cup anyway, so he'll probably put his best team out against us and then play the kids against Chelsea.
It's true. He's starting Kelleher. Goal outrageous. That's a good point. So you kind of don't know, don't you? If that's going to be 3 points or not. But what are the chances of Leeds United then finishing that run of 5 games? So you have Man United, Liverpool, Tottenham, and Leicester to play, and then Norwich. When you reach Norwich, do you think you're going to be in a fight? Or where do you see Leicester at that point?
I'd expect us to be in a fight, but I'm expecting us to be in a fight for most of the rest of the season just because of how the performance has been so far and all the little interruptions that we've had to getting into a flow of stuff. So,
I mean, if injuries persist the way they are, then definitely.
Yeah.
I think your big competition and a good barometer is Brentford. If you can better Brentford's results between now and the end of the season, I think you'll definitely be safe.
Yeah, I think we're level on points with them now, aren't we? Or 1 point behind them.
It's 1 point behind. Yeah. I think Everton will improve. Newcastle look like improving. I think obviously they're not out of the woods yet. They've had one good result for Everton. So I'd expect with their quality player, I feel like if Coverland stays fit, they should get a safety with a man like Frank Lampard at the helm, But Newcastle, we were just discussing about Trippier missing out.
That's a big loss for them, but
massive loss. So I see Brentford dropping off because they haven't been playing well. They're not getting the results. Unless Christian Eriksen comes back soon, but as far as I know, he's about a month away with fitness, and it has to be.
I think he got an assist in a friendly today against Southend or something, but
he's
got Josh De Silva back as well, but
Josh De Silva.
So yeah, they have. I think Leeds Brentford is one to keep an eye on as to who gets the better results. And if you can keep up with them, I think that'll you and do better than them between now and the end of the season. I think that'll keep you up. That's what I was looking at.
I'd expect us to be able to do better than 3 out of the 4 of Watford, Brentford, Burnley, and Norwich. But
it's gonna be real tight.
It's gonna be tight. Don't discount Burnley from the conversation too. I mean, they have 5 games in hand or something. 3 games in hand, and they're only 3 points behind Norwich. So who knows? But Leeds in a relegation fight, then I think we all agree. You're lucky enough that George isn't here
Well,
today. He doesn't think well of Leeds.
in
He's been
it at the
playing
moment,
them
but
since.
it all comes down to how the next run of games goes. But
Yeah,
I
we'll
mean,
see.
if you went 4 on the bounce,
if we'd have
or
beaten
5 on the
Everton, you'd have pretty much said we're out of a relegation scrap.
Oh
and
yeah,
Everton are really in it.
yeah, that's true. That's true.
But
I'm looking at the baseline tracker on the other 14, and Leeds, Brentford are on 0, and Crystal Palace on, or sorry, not Crystal Palace, Leeds on -4, same as Crystal Palace. That's an indicator for the relegation battle as to how many points you've already accumulated at home. And the other 14 on Twitter, if you're interested in that.
that's 39 points, isn't it? Yeah.
It's it's really complicated. I don't really explain it all. But
Well, it's basically if you're -4, you're on course to get 35 points. If you're 0, you're on course to get 39. But
There
I think
you go.
it'll be 35 or more. Will probably get you up, keep you up this season anyway.
there
Yeah.
you go. All right, thanks for explaining that, and for your Leeds United insight concerning times. But I think Leeds United will be fine. Maybe not George.
Don't say that, Ali.
No!
If the injuries subside and Phillips stays fit for the rest of the season, and I think some of the other players pick up form, then yeah. But it is a few ifs.
Well, if we just starting Forshaw again, we'll be fine. But
Just
Yeah.
Forshaw on his
Just
own.
start Forshaw.
Forshaw
One-man
and
team.
Joffees
Forshaw's
on their own.
Well, FJC, thank you so much for being on. And if I cursed Leeds United from there,
Yeah,
and
cheers
you
for having
get
me.
relegated, then I apologize in advance. So sorry about that. And we will move on to the next set of segment, Champions League, happening this midweek after this. All right, thanks FJC. That was awesome. Especially the part where I cursed Leeds United. Fergal, you're not on the Alcott
that
Discord
wasn't awesome.
all the time. But in the last 2 weeks, everything I say doesn't happen.
Well,
Even the Super Bowl, I said it's starting to feel like it's not LA's. It's not the Rams' day, and then they came back.
Yeah, I said in the Discord last night when he said that I might put a bet on the Rams now, and I wish I had.
You should have. Bloody hell. Okay. Are we keeping FJC on for the Champions League? If you want to stay on, I mean, up to you.
Yeah, why not?
All right.
Give you an extra man just because 2 can be harder to do it. Keep things going, can't it? But
At times. But okay, here we go. I'm gonna start again. We do PSG, Real Madrid, and Inter, Liverpool in the main because the other 2 are foregone conclusions. Here I curse them again. And so we'll do quick prediction on each one, and then move on to Serie A. And just have fans speak.
Okay.
What?
I'm just like I haven't been paying attention to any of these foreign teams. I'm gonna be picking a storyline out of my arse.
Rule
here.
Britannia.
give a table of Serie A.
Super League table. Where's Inter? Okay, again, we'll do PSG, Real Madrid, and
Is it
we'll
just
do
the first leg prediction or the
No,
whole
we'll do a
type
round of prediction on who's going to qualify, and then next game week. So next episode, we'll do a quick prediction on who's going to qualify.
So just out of these 4 teams, right? Just pick a team that's going to go through. Okay.
Just pick a team.
Out of the games this week.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
If you if you have a quick point to make, then you can say kind of with
I'm
the
not
prediction.
gonna have any points.
I'm not gonna have any points. Okay. All right, going again in 3, 2, 1. Yep, it is the Champions League. It is back, and this week, probably the headline fixture is PSG Real Madrid. Not the game I'm most keen on watching, but it is the headline, and it will be good to see one of them get knocked out, as far as I'm concerned.
It's like former Galactico versus current Galacticos face off.
Exactly. Exactly.
It'd be interesting to see Ramos go back to them as well, I suppose. So there's quite a good, like, few storylines running through it all. A couple of ex-Barcelona, a couple of ex-Real Madrid.
Mm-hmm.
Two great teams going at it.
Going at
Sadly,
it.
I think Ramos is injured, but
Oh, is he?
Oh yeah, he might be injured. Yeah, that is true. He is injured. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. He's facing the stands. Obviously, the camera will pan to him. That is inevitable. And the commentators would go, "Oh, Sergio Ramos, he's one of the greatest fans of all time. He's in Real Madrid. It's guaranteed. Put it in a bingo card or something." But who's gonna win? Fergal.
I'm gonna go with Real Madrid. Still don't fully rate PSG. The fact that Messi's not firing is like not totally firing to what he was. I don't know. It's just something about this PSG team. The fact that they've sort of already decided that Pochettino's gonna go, like, all of that leads to that, and then Real Madrid, as I know, are on okay form. And doing okay.
Yeah.
To be honest, I'm not entirely sure that it could go either way. There are two great teams, but something about Real Madrid in Champions League and PSG getting to go through again. I think it feels like that way.
Fergus.
yeah, I think PSG might win tomorrow, but I'm not sure they'll win over 2 legs. I think the Di Maria being in instead of Neymar is actually helping him, I think, with a bit of more balance in the midfield. But
Yeah.
you can't trust PSG in the Champions League anymore, ever, really. But
Well, I think it's useful to note that PSG did win against Man City earlier in the season, and it was 2-0, so they did keep a clean sheet. Although Bernardo Silva missed like the biggest chance
dominated in both games, though, didn't they?
But exactly that. So
Well,
PSG,
one of them was like a spectacular goal. What Messi scored on?
Messi scored on his debut.
yeah,
didn't
it
he?
was like a 1-2 Champions League debut. It's like a 1-2 with Mbappe, and Mbappe flicked it back, and then Messi skipped past 1 and 2, and then whipped a top corner. Outrageous goal.
Yeah, so like, I wouldn't read into that much. It was like,
exactly.
their quality players took that chance, and then I'm pretty sure Man City should have taken their chances and would have won it.
Yeah.
But yeah. I'm not convinced by PSG.
Me neither. They have been conceding something like 1.5 XG every game so far in the Champions League, and that's Real Madrid. Like, that's Karim Benzema and Vinicius Junior. They've been outrageously overperforming in front of goal this season. Like something like 5 goal overperformance for each versus expected goals. So if they will take their chances when they come, and they will come, because none of the PSG front three really press, so it's going to be easy to transition and create goal scoring opportunities. I would go with Real Madrid too, going through. So that's that sorted. Very quickly, happening on the same day, Sporting Lisbon, Man City. Man City in agreement?
Yeah.
Yeah. Although it does feel like It does feel like
banana skin.
Yeah, it does feel like a banana
skin
skin and potential Leon fixture. They seem like Sporting
Leon-esque elimination.
Yeah, they like, no team at this stage is a pushover.
Yeah.
And so I do wonder, will Guardiola do it again? But no, I'd imagine Man City go through.
Yeah, I'd say so. It would be outrageous if they didn't. Sporting shouldn't have qualified in the first place. It's something mad about Borussia Dortmund just being bad in the group stages.
Sebastian Coates is going to score an overhead kick to knock out City.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. Let's have it. Okay, so FJC's backing Sporting. You heard it here first.
I'm not really backing Sporting, but
okay.
Signed Marcus Edwards, didn't they? He's that young English from the Tottenham Academy.
He's quite good at football.
I can't imagine. I don't know if he'd start or not for them. I don't know too much. But,
it's a shame it's not Lisbon, but how Benfica even.
Yeah, then I would know the team inside out. Well, to be honest, they're going to get stuffed. Whoever, I think they've got Ajax, I think.
Yes.
They're going to get absolutely pumped by them. because they were terrible when I saw them live.
And Ajax have been outrageous too. They've conceded like 6
Yeah.
goals in the league all season. They're the best offense too. All right, happening the very next day. Another banana skin scenario with Salzburg and Bayern. I think we all expect Bayern to go through there. They did lose 4-2 to Bochum this game week. This game week of the Bundesliga, I think it was Bochum.
Yeah,
Quite bizarre.
Well,
They seem to have those
think-
pop-up mad results every once in a while, just to let everyone know it is a competitive league. Like they're not winning every single game.
they'll have picked the banana skin off and put it in the compost. But like they'll have gotten rid of that, and then as a result, I think there'll be a bit of a reaction, and Salzburg are gonna get pumped.
Oh, we know what's going to happen. Aronsson's going to score a hat trick and knock out Bayern and get a big money move to a bigger club.
FJC, that's why I always
he's
want-
gonna
that-
put
that's-
himself out of the price range of Leeds.
Exactly. The narrative building is exceptional. Let's have that. But no, Bayern go through.
Let's not have that.
Perhaps the most interesting one, Inter Liverpool.
Liverpool have been too impressive. I don't watch enough Serie A, but Liverpool are just been really impressive. I know the interplay with 5 at the back.
Yeah.
But I feel like that would suit Liverpool, like the freedom of the wide spaces, especially if Elliott. If that triangle that I raved about at the start of the season, Trent, Elliott, and Salah can get cooking again. Against the 5 at the back with the interchange of positions, everyone having to go at being the wider man, I feel like that could cause havoc. But Inter are going to be tight and cause problems, and in their own ways. Got a really good front line of Xhaka and Lautaro Martinez.
Yeah. I think that is why it does depend on our form defensively, really, because we haven't been the most consistent defensively. It does depend on team selection, because if Konate starts, I think that might be a little bit of a problem, as opposed to Van Dijk and Matip, which I think is the best defensive partnership that we have at the moment. But Klopp sometimes does these changes that you don't expect, really. You might find him starting with Henderson and Milner in the same game. That would be an issue if that happens.
I can't see him doing that now.
I
think
would be
the
very
days of
surprised
Henderson
too,
and Milner
but
together in
it wouldn't
the
shock me.
big games is over, I think. But
yeah, and Henderson's been somewhat off it. I'd back Liverpool, but not completely, not with full confidence. I'll just go Liverpool. See what happens. FJC.
I'm going to go into. I think Liverpool struggle against back threes. Like Brighton were vulnerable, weren't they? Did Brighton play a back three, or am I just thinking that
They do.
they usually play a back three? But
They do play a back three pretty much every game.
the Wolves game was a big struggle for Liverpool as well, and Spurs as well. I don't think Salah suits playing
That's
against
a
the
good
back
point.
three.
Yeah.
And
That is
that
a good
into midfield of Barella and Brozovic.
Barella's really good.
Barella's ridiculous. That's why I'm like, please don't start Milner, and let's just have Fabinho, Keita, Thiago, our best midfield three, or Fabinho, Thiago, Elliott, or Fabinho,
Start
Keita.
Thiago, let Barella skin him and get Thiago sent off. Nice, easy and to win.
Yeah, that's true. The Thiago isn't the most reliable defensively, but Fabinho will handle him fine. Fabinho, Keita, Elliott would be my final choice. Inter, interesting. I think that's the first choice we've not agreed with, and that kind of subs up Inter Liverpool as being the most exciting of those set of game weeks. Obviously, the other 4 games will happen next week, and then we'll be discussing our predictions for those. I think when this episode is gone out, PSG and Real Madrid will have already happened, and Sporting Man City too.
Maybe we should just do another take and edit it so that we've got PSG right.
Yeah, I'll edit that in. Let's do it now. No, we didn't do it. Okay. All right. I wanted to touch up on Serie A, speaking of Inter, because Inter drew with Napoli 1-1. And then Milan won, or Milan won against Milan or Milan? Milan. God, I struggle with Milan for some reason. Milan.
You can call it either, but
Depends what part of the world you want to pretend you're from, Ali.
Oh, God. I'm going to pretend I'm Egyptian and say Milan. Okay. They won against whoever they are. Did win a very hard fight, or they kind of made it difficult for themselves against Sampdoria, but they did end up winning 1-0 with kind of a route one goal. Rafael Leao taking it first touch, skinning the defender and scoring within 3 touches was a great goal. But then now Milan are top and Inter and Napoli dropped points together, so they went second and third. That was a really exciting game week, especially the Milan-Sampdoria game, given the Inter-Napoli game. Was very, very good. Dzeko scored an outrageous goal. It was like the angle was impossible. He had to turn, take the ball completely off the ground, kind of went into the bottom of the post and jump over the goal line. It was ridiculous.
He has to be one of the most underappreciated strikers of his generation.
Absolutely. I think it's because the eyeballs are all now on the Premier League, really. And the Serie A just doesn't get enough coverage. I think Serie A is the second best.
Even when he was at City, he never seemed to make the headlines, even though he was doing ridiculous.
He scored the goal that equalised for them against QPR.
And then Aguero took all the headlines.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of Serie A, tabs on Tammy this week.
He's done it again.
He's done it again.
He keeps going. It's Tammy. What can I say?
But Fergal, the results don't keep on coming. They've drawn another Desmond against a 10-man Sassuolo, and the position in Serie A seems to be teetering around. Oh, are we even gonna get Europe now? Which I don't know. Jose Mourinho and all that.
They're only what is this? 4 points off of
4 points off fifth. 6 off fourth.
Yep.
6 off fourth. I'm looking at the other teams around them. The teams in the top 5: Milan, Inter, Napoli, Juve, Atalanta, and then Lazio is just ahead of Roma. The 2 Roman teams side by side, 42 and 40. So yeah, I feel like the other 5 teams are probably better than Roma, and it might be just what brings them over. But when you've got Tammy in your team, anything's possible. Potentially still a title charge with Tammy in your team. So
the fact that they have Tammy and having
with Jose as manager,
disappointing. Disappointing. It's a one-man team. The guy can't do everything on his own, for God's sake. Let's just leave it at that and go into just another fantasy pick.
We've had 2 game weeks since we've been on. So we had Kevin with the midweek game week. I picked De Bruyne. Ali picked Bowen. We both got 11, and then George and Harry picked Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin, and didn't do very well. Richarlison got 2, and Calvert-Lewin got 0.
I did say in this little mini-sode that we released on
picked him for a run game.
Say what?
They picked him for a run game, but
picked it for the wrong game. I did say it was kind of a questionable pick, just given everything that's going on in their general form. And I ended up being right. Bowen got 11 points, and Kevin De Bruyne did get 11 points. So
yeah, I was happy with that. Finally, whenever I pick a big name that don't get 0. Oh wait, I've spoken too soon. I picked Cancelo this week and got 0. I thought I'd avoid the pep roulette. Cancelo's the consistent man, but the one game where you would rest him, Norwich. Okay, Zinchenko gets a game. Great for me. So I've got 0 this week. And George looked at Harry last week with Calvert-Lewin getting 0 points and said, "I'll have a bit of that," and he ended up with 2. and then Harry and Ali have gone for the smart choice of going for the double game week of Mopai and Welbeck. Ali currently on 6 with another game to go against Man United, is it?
Man United.
Yeah.
So I expect Mopai to bag more.
And Welbeck for Harry, who's got 2 points, and then the other game against United. So still points to pick up this week. For me and George, it's been a bad game week this particular week. The current standings are: Ali has broken the 100-point barrier
Yes.
And it's on 106 points. I'm on 90 points. Harry is in third, 20 points behind me on 70, and George is on 65, 5 points behind Harry. So it's spaced out now. I think I've still got all of my special players to go. I've got the second pick of a player and a triple captain as well. And nobody's played the triple captain yet. Ali hinted in the chat that he knows exactly when he's going to use it. You don't have to tell us now, Ali. We'll keep that suspense going for whenever you triple captain the player.
Ooh, suspense.
Surely you use it this week on Dan James for a double game week.
Daniel James. He did beat Tyrone Minks to a header, but I think that says more about Tyrone Minks than Daniel James.
He's beaten Tyrone Mings and Ben Mee to headers this season. More headed goals in the Prem than Ronaldo and Kane.
Which are both on 0. Impressive.
Yeah.
All right, but yeah, we never knew that he's capable of scoring headers, did we? Before he went to Leeds. All right, I think we'll leave it there, as Harry would say. But thank you so much to FJC for coming on and giving his insight on Leeds United. I think it's a pretty unique football club. Let's not say confusing, but it's a pretty unique situation there. So it was good to have his insight. And thank you to Fergal for his participation.
Thanks for letting me on.
Letting me on. All right.
Yeah, thanks for letting me on as well.
Letting you on. All right. You're welcome. And we will be letting more people on next week with another episode.
And just before we go, folks,
Go on.
Next time, I promise we'll get you on after a good result for Leeds.
Oh, that could be in a long time from now. Keep an eye on the Norwich result. That's the possibility.
Next Wednesday, just doing straight after a Liverpool match.
Oh,
Guaranteed.
yeah, good point. Yeah. Do you think it's going to be an easy 3 points? Let's see. All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we will see you on the next one. Cheers.